Welcome everyone, and today's practice we will begin laying down onto our backs. So just come down onto your back, take a moment to settle. So just lay in any way that's comfortable for you. I'm going to have my knees bent and my knees touching each other and my feet mat wide, but you can lay in a different position if that works better for you. Just taking a few moments, allowing the breath to even out, settling on towards your mat. And today's practice is going to be an intermediate flow with some options to take some hand balances if that's in your practice, but if it's not, that's okay. You can completely ignore all of the weird things that don't resonate with you. So just bring the feet so they are about hip distance and the knees are up towards the ceiling. And then start off bringing the right knee in towards the chest. You can either hold around the shin, or if it's more comfortable, you can take the back of the thigh. And then just, if comfortable, the left leg might straighten out. This is going to increase the stretch, so just work it for you. If it's better with the knee bent, then keep that. And take your right hand on towards your right knee and just take some circles. And take them back in the opposite direction. And then just bring the knee back in, perhaps hugging it in a bit closer, bringing it towards the shoulder if that's there for you, or a little close to the shoulder. Flex into the left foot if it's straight. And then just bring the left foot in again and just plant it on the floor with the knee up to the ceiling. Flex your right foot and take your right foot so it's up towards the ceiling too with the knee bent. Now reaching up, you can either hold the ankle, the inside or the outside of the foot. So coming into a half happy baby here. Just allowing the knee to come down towards the armpit, and you might just let the left knee slightly splay out to the side for balance. Or if you prefer, you could just re-straighten that left leg along the floor. And then from your half happy baby, I would start out with the knee bent for this one, the left knee. Just start to straighten and bend into that right leg. So obviously the right leg might not straighten for everybody, it doesn't have to. It's just that stretch down the back of the leg, the feedback. So if the leg needs to straighten to get that feedback, then let it completely straighten out. And if you feel that the leg's being straightened out, if you're more mobile and you're not getting the feedback, then you can just straighten the left leg and that will change things. And when the leg's in its straightest point for you, just holding there for a moment. Remembering we're at the beginning of the practice, so you're not going to be at your most flexible at this point. And then bending that knee back in and just plant the right foot onto the floor and then plant the left foot onto the floor. And bring the left knee in towards the chest and holding around the shin with the option to just take that right leg straight. and then taking left hand onto left knee, take those circles into the hip. And then reverse them back in the opposite direction. And then coming back to stillness, bringing that knee in a bit closer if it's there for you, flexing into the right foot. And then bending back into that right knee, planting the foot, and then flexing the left foot, taking left foot up towards the ceiling and reaching up and taking the ankle or the foot on the left side. And again, choosing your leg position. You could either just let the right knee splay out to the side slightly for balance, or you could straighten it out along the floor. And then from here just start to straighten and bend in towards the left leg. Noticing any differences with the right leg, you might find that the one is tighter than the other. And then when the leg is straight, just taking a few breaths within its straight position. And then bending the left knee in, and then bringing the right knee in to join, and then flexing into the feet, and maybe taking your full happy baby pose from here. Just take a few moments, either holding the feet or the ankles, and then just bringing the knees in towards the chest. And we're going to come up to a seated position, so find a good way. You might want to take a few rocks up and down the spine, just massaging the back into the floor. And just finding your way up to a seated position. Just take the legs to a comfortable seat. So I'm going to be cross-legged. You could choose a different one if that works better for you. We're just going to focus on the upper body for a moment or two. So taking hands on towards the knees or the legs, I'm going to take some body circles, so just taking the weight over one knee, over the other knee, and then round the back. And then swapping your direction. Coming back to centre, just take the attention to the neck, keeping the back in a straight position. Just let the chin nod down towards the chest, and just take the hands gently to the back of the head. Don't push the head down here, just gently let the hands resting on the head give you that stretch in the back of the neck, that elongation. Hands away, bringing the head back upright. Just drop the right ear towards the right shoulder. Again, there's the option to gently rest the right hand on the head. You might take the left hand out to the side and just rest the fingers on the floor. Coming into the trapezius muscle in the back. It's a really big muscle. You can get really tight at the top, around the head, neck and shoulder area. Take right hand towards right cheek, just bring the head back centre, and then dropping left ear to left shoulder. Option to take the left hand onto the head and take the right arm out to the side. taking the left hand to the left cheek and bringing the head back centre. Take a few half moon shapes with the neck or full circles, whatever's better for you. And taking it back the opposite way if you took the full circle. And then coming back to stillness, and we're going to move into a 4-point kneeling. So setting yourself up in your 4-point kneeling, wrists underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips. I'm going to do a bit of a cat dance here. So just starting off with the belly dipping and the chest coming through the shoulders, and then rounding the back, taking the gaze towards the belly button. Take a couple of these to start with. And then next time you take your rounded back shape, take the bottom back as close to the heels as is comfortable for you, and then when you come forward, really strike through, dip the chest when you come into your cow shape, and then again rounding the back, taking the bottom back to the heels. So make this into a bit of a wave like motion. Trying to incorporate all of your back into the movement. And then coming back to a neutral spine. Just checking the knees. Take the knees together, take the feet together, and then tuck the toes under. Take the bottom back towards the heels and start to walk the hands in, maybe coming into an upright kneeling. If you suffer with arthritis in your toes, it may be better for you to have the weight slightly forward so you can support yourself with your hands. If you're comfortable in your upright kneeling position, you might edge the knees a little forward to increase the toe stretch. Taking a few breaths here. We won't be here for too long because I know that it can be quite intense for some people. If I'm leaving you here too long, then obviously come out of it. You don't have to stay in the posture for as long as I'm in a posture. It's not working for you. And then just take the weight forward and then release the toes and lay the tops of the feet back down. Sit the bottom back towards the heels. Again, staying here or just using the fingertips for support, lifting the knees up. So we're stretching into the top of the foot now. Try and keep the back straight, and you might even be able to balance in this position. Don't have to, it's not particularly necessary, but if you can. And then lowering back down, then walk the hands back out towards a 4-point kneeling. Take the knees back to hip distance, and then from here just lower the chest and chin towards the ground, and then lower the rest of your body towards the ground, and then just take the elbows underneath the shoulders, coming into your Sphinx pose here. So we're going to activate the hands, so press them into the mat, almost dragging your chest through your shoulders. Keep the neck nice and long. You don't want the ears and the shoulders close to each other and touching. Engaging your glute muscles if your back's feeling a bit tender or pinchy. And then just laying down on towards the front. And taking the hands just slightly wider than the shoulders, just next to the shoulders, and take your gaze down towards the mat. Try to avoid pushing lifting the neck up too much. and bending the neck back. So come into some baby cobra variations. So from here, take a breath in and just lift up a couple of centimetres, and then breathing out to lower down. So just work at your own pace, lifting and lowering. If you want to make this a little bit more challenging, you can start lifting the hands as well as the chest. So the only thing that's supporting you is your muscles in your back, your abdominal muscles too. Just make this your last repetition before lowering down, and just make a pillow for the head with the hands for a moment, and just tip-top the hips from side to side. And then taking the hands back, either under the shoulders, pushing back, making a rounded back shape from your 4-point kneeling. And just lower the bottom to the heels, lower the forehead towards the floor, counterposing that back bend. And then gazing to the space between the hands, and then moving back towards 4-point kneeling, and then tucking the toes under, and then lifting the bottom up towards the ceiling, coming into your downward facing dog here. So we haven't really worked the back of the legs too much yet. We did a little bit on our back, but you might still be feeling a little bit tight in your hamstrings. So if that's the case, then take a moment to move the feet, pedaling them out here. If you prefer to take this posture in stillness, and just be still, having the heels aiming towards the floor, chest aiming towards the thighs. Just slightly rotate the elbows so the eye of the elbow is facing inwards or slightly forwards. And then just rippling the body through and towards the plank, and then dropping the knees down towards the floor. And then take it from your 4-point kneeling, take the right foot out behind, and then turning the right toes parallel with the end of the mat. You might just take the left foot behind for support, come onto the right fingertips, and then we're going to come into a side plank variation. So from here, you might just keep the hand resting, the right hand resting onto your side, or you might take it up to the ceiling. So option to stay here. If you want to bring some strength in, you might pick up that left knee and just tuck it behind that right foot. Continuing to breathe, pushing the hips upwards here. So working into the side obliques. And then either with the knee up or down, just turning back down towards the floor, and then just drop down towards the knees again. Then from here, taking left leg out, making it parallel with the side of the mat, starting off taking the right foot just out behind for support, coming onto the left fingertips, and then we're in our side plank on the left side. So again, option to rest the left arm against the side of the body, or you could reach it up towards the ceiling. And again, staying here in supported side plank, or you might wish to tuck that right foot just behind the left, pushing the hips upwards, gazing up or down, whatever your balance allows. And then either lowering the knee again, or just turning back down, and either dropping back to the knees again, or staying in your plank, because we're going to repeat the same thing again. So either do exactly what you just did before, or from your plank, just taking the feet so they're over to pointing towards the right. You can either keep them separated or you can stack them. And we're going to come back into side plank again. Taking right hand back down, moving through centre, taking the feet over towards facing the left, either keeping them separated for balance or stacking them, and then taking your side plank On the other side. Turning back down, dropping knees towards the floor, lowering chest and chin between the hands, coming back into that prone position, keeping hands underneath the shoulders, lifting the chest, coming in towards your cobra, low or high, don't have to come up too high here. Tucking the toes, lifting the hips back up, finding your downward facing dog. So either taking a couple of breaths in downward dog. If it's already feeling a bit much, you might take your child pose here. And then looking towards the top end of the mat, just start to walk the feet up to the hands. And then once the feet are up to the hands, just take them about hip distance, coming into a forward fold, so have the knees soft here. Take a moment, you might sway from side to side a few times. And then just plant the hand down directly under your face. Take a deep bend into the left knee, straightening in towards the right leg, reaching right arm up, taking a twist. Lowering back down, taking right hand directly under the face, deep bend into right knee, straightening into left leg, reaching left arm up towards ceiling. Lowering down. Take the hands on towards the shins, coming into a flat back position. We're preparing to come up to stand here. So take a few breaths here if you need to. If you often get dizzy coming from a fold to a stand, this is a good halfway point to hang out for a bit. Then when ready, take hands onto hips, and then slowly, with a flat back, just make your way up to a standing position. Acclimatising for a moment, and then when ready, bringing the feet so the toes are touching towards the top end of the mat. Hands down by the sides of the body, spending a breath or two in mountain pose, slightly tucking the tailbone, shoulders back, lifting front ribs, lifting back ribs. And then if you have the space, obviously you may need to modify depending on where you are. Take a breath in. If there's space to reach the arms up, then take this. If there's not space, just perhaps come up using a prayer. So finding yourself in your top position here, possibly taking a baby back bend if that's comfortable. Breathing out, folding down towards the floor. And then from here, stepping back with the right leg, lower down towards the right knee. Low lunge, ankle and knee in line. Coming onto fingertips, lifting the chest. Then from here, tucking the back toes, lifting the back knee, taking a step back towards your plank. Dropping the knees down towards the floor, lowering the chest and chin between the hands, lowering all the way down, finding your cobra. Lowering down, tucking the toes, finding your downward facing dog. Picking up right leg, stepping to the space between the hands, lower down to left knee, coming onto fingertips, low lunge. Stepping up towards the top end of the mat, forward fold. Breathing in, coming up, taking the arms up, option to take a mini back bend. Breathing out, hands back down by the side of the body. Ready to go again. Breathe in, taking the arms up, baby back bend if comfortable. Breathing out, folding down towards the floor. This time stepping back with the left leg, lowering down towards the right knee, lifting the chest, low lunge. Planting the hands, stepping back with the right leg, coming in towards your plank. Dropping knees, chest and chin down towards the floor. All the way down, moving in towards your cobra. Lowering down, tucking the toes, downward facing dog, your upside down V shape. Left leg to the space between the hands, lowering down towards the right knee, low lunge. Stepping up towards the top of the mat, forward fold. Breathing in, coming up, taking the arms up, baby back bend if comfortable. Breathing out. Back in towards our mountain pose. Take a moment here. Notice how your breathing has changed. Has your heart rate changed? Are you starting to feel a bit warmer now? And ready to go again, this time adding on. So taking arms up, baby back bend if comfortable. Breathing out, folding down towards the floor. Picking up the right leg, stepping back and towards our low lunge. Option to stay here, or you might want to reach the arms up. You could even gaze to the space between the hands. Bring the hands down towards a prayer at the chest, turning around towards the left, hooking right elbow over left knee, taking gaze behind. Turning back centre, framing that front foot. Tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, step back towards your plank, dropping knees, chest and chin, all the way down, taking your cobra. Lowering down, finding your downward facing dog. Picking up the right leg, taking it to the space between the hands, lowering down towards the left knee. Low lunge. Stay here, or reaching arms up towards the ceiling, coming into your more upright position. Just checking that your tailbone's nice and tucked here, you're not dumping into your lower back. Bring the hands down towards the prayer at the chest, turning around to the right, hooking that elbow over the knee, taking the gaze behind. Ideally working the hands towards being at the centre of the chest. Turning back forwards, framing that front foot. Tuck the back toes, stepping up towards the top of the mat, forward fold. Breathing in, coming up, taking the arms up, baby back bend. Breathing out, back in towards mountain pose. Give yourself time to breathe before we go again. Ready, breathe in, taking the arms up, baby back bend if comfortable, folding down towards the floor. This time stepping back with left leg. This time you don't have to lower down to the knee, you could choose to stay higher. Coming onto fingertips, coming up into your high lunge, reaching the arms up if comfortable, maybe gazing up. From here, taking left hand down towards the floor, easy twist. Lowering right hand down to frame that foot, take a step back plank. Knees, chest and chin. All the way down, cobra. Finding your toes, moving back, taking your downward facing dog. Picking up the left leg, stepping to the space between the hands, staying up off of the knee this time, coming up towards your high lunge. Make sure you've got your balance. If you feel like you're on a tightrope, just checking that the feet are hip distance here. Gazing up or down, again checking you're not dumping into your low back. Leaving left arm up, taking right hand down, easy twist. Lowering down towards the mat, stepping up, forward fold. Breathing in, coming up, baby back bend, breathing out. Take a moment in your mountain pose. Then for the next posture, we'll still need to be near the top of the mat, but you must want to make sure you've got enough space in front of you. So you maybe slightly step back. We're going to bend the knees and we're going to move in towards our chair pose. Arms up or prayer at chest, pushing the bottom back towards the heels. Folding down towards the floor. Option to just step back in towards your plank. If crow pose is in your practice, you might take this opportunity to place your knees onto the backs of your arms or up in towards your armpits. If you're playing with crow and you're learning crow, you might use this opportunity to just do a few foot lifts. If you take full crow, you might lift up completely into the posture, and then you might want to jump back. Finding your upward facing dog or cobra, downward facing dog. Always feeling free to take child pose when you need that. Picking up the right leg, stepping to the space between the hands. So again, this is where we need some space in front, so just slightly adjust back. Obviously I've not got a lot of space here. So keeping fingertips on the floor, lifting the left leg up. Try to keep the hips parallel. Maybe staying here, or maybe lifting the hands up, taking a prayer towards the chest. There are a few options for the arms here. You could either take them out to the sides, you could take them out in front, which I don't have the space for, or you could take them more into a cactus shape, or they could be down by the side of the body. Breathing. Take right hand down towards the floor from wherever you've got your hand position. Now we're stacking the hips, we're opening the left hip out. This can be handy if you use blocks in your practice and your arm's a bit on the short side. You could use a block here. Taking the left arm up, optional. You might look up towards that hand, or you might prefer to look down towards the floor, depending on how your balance is serving you today. Lowering the left hand down, just bringing that left foot down. Preparing for the other side, picking up the right leg, taking it behind, squaring the hips, flexing the foot, either staying here or taking hands towards a prayer at the chest. Settle here and choose a hand position. Maybe choose a different one to the one you took last time. Taking left hand down towards the floor, fingertip touch, opening out that right hip, taking right arm up towards the ceiling, half moon pose. Lowering down towards the floor, step back in towards your plank. Yogi's choice, either move through a flow or go straight to child pose. We're all going to meet in a child pose with the knees down, bottom back towards the heels, take the forehead down towards the floor. Just take stock of how you're feeling right now. Take a good few breaths here. Lifting the head back up, moving into a 4-point kneeling, tucking the back toes, lifting back up towards your downward facing dog. From here, picking up the left leg, stepping to the space between the hands. Going to walk around towards the side, so we're in our wide leg position here. Take a breath in, lifting the chest, and then breathing out, folding down. Maybe hands come in line with feet, and then either looking towards the back of the room through the legs, or if you're not quite so deep in the posture, you may be just looking down towards the space between the hands. breathe in, lifting the chest halfway. Take the hands on towards the hips, slowly coming upright. Then from here, reaching the arms out to a T, taking the hands behind the back, interlinking the fingers. Opening the shoulders, take a breath in, lifting the chest, and then folding down towards the floor. Option, you could let the hands just rest on towards the back, or you could lift them off of the back, coming into a shoulder stretch. So aiming the hands towards the floor, in front of you. Slowly coming back to that halfway position, take the hands down for support, lifting the chest. Walking the hands back round to the top of the mat. And then from here, take a step back towards your downward facing dog. Again, yogi's choice, waiting here, moving through a flow. And then from your downward facing dog, picking up the right leg and bringing the right knee to the back of the right wrist, taking the ankle across. We're going to find our pigeon pose. If pigeon pose doesn't work for you, you could come around on towards your back and you could take your figure of four stretch, because you're still getting into the outside of that hip. If you're in your pigeon pose, settling here, we're going to take sleeping pigeon here if it's in your practice. So come forward carefully, it's going to increase the stretch in the outside of the hip. So if staying upright works better for you, then just go ahead and stay upright in the posture. Starting to walk the hands back in, taking a breath or two in your higher pigeon. So you might take the hands maybe to the side, you might hold onto the mat, whatever feels good. Lifting the chest. If you take deep back bends in this, you might want to bend back a bit further than I am. And then setting the hands down, tuck the back toes, and we're going to take that right foot to the outside of the right hand. And then from here, just leaving that left knee off of the floor. So you may want to stay here, because normally we might come down for this, but we're going to leave the left knee off the floor. But if you can, you may want to come to your elbows. It's going to be different with the left knee up. If you are on your elbows, coming back up on towards your hands, taking the right hand, threading it through so it's round the other side of the leg. Ground into the floor here. Maybe you can fit the shoulder underneath. Maybe you can lift the hands up, take them out to the sides. You might even take the hands around the back for a bind. Either staying here or you can take a hand balance. So from here, if you want to work with the hand balance, you're lowering your left hip on towards your left elbow. So you're supporting yourself here when you're starting out with this. And then maybe, once you're here, you might just lift that right foot up off of the floor. You've got that left foot for support. If you want to take the hand balance a little bit further, start working to lift the left foot off the floor. So taking the weight forwards. Bending the knee can help, or you could do it with the leg straight. And then when you're done, take a step back to downward dog, drop down towards the knees, taking a few breaths in your child pose. looking towards the top of the mat, tucking the back toes, and then back towards your downward facing dog. Picking up the left leg and taking the left knee to the back of the left wrist. Take the left ankle across, lowering down. So you're either in your pigeon or you've come onto your back and you're going to take it upside down. Take a breath in, and then when ready, starting to fold forwards. So you might just drop down to the elbows, you don't have to lower all the way down to the floor. Slowly walking the hands back in, taking a moment or two in your high pigeon, lifting the chest, and then planting the hands, tuck the back toes, and we're going to move the left foot to the outside of the left hand. I'm going to edge over a little bit for space, and so we're here. Right knee stays off, so stay up onto the hands or dropping down towards the elbows. Coming up, if you drop down, taking your left hand and threading it around to the other side of the foot. So again, you might stay here. You might work the shoulder under the leg a bit more. You might lift the hands, take them out to the sides. You might even bind around the back. Or you might take the hand balance. So remember, supporting your weight, taking your elbow, your right elbow towards your right hip. So this is harder for people with long bodies. If you have a long body and naturally your elbow lands sort of in your mid area, that's going to be quite challenging. You don't really want to be taking all the weight on there. So luckily for me, this is quite accessible because naturally my right elbow touches my hip bone. So just be aware that your anatomy might not suit this. So again, once you're set, maybe lifting the left leg up off the floor, maybe lifting the right leg. Remember, you can always bend that knee. And then when ready, coming back, dropping down towards the knees, and then finding a child pose. Slowly coming up, and we're going to find a seated position. Just coming through to seated, take the legs out in front. Be pleased to know there's no more crazy hand balances to be done. So we're going to take a moment in staff, so removing any flesh from the sit bones and toes pointed up to ceiling, lifting the chest, gazing towards the feet. And we're going to take a fold from here, but we're going to take a slightly different one. So we're going to bend the knees in, take the feet in about halfway, so you've still got quite a big gap. Let the knees come out to the side, so you've got a diamond shape here. And then we're going to lower down, so that elbows might come inside, they might come outside. You might find that you don't come down very far at all. If this is the case, just allow the neck to be really relaxed here, hanging down. You are in a rounded position. If you come down a bit lower, you might allow the elbows to come down towards the floor. You might even rest the head on the feet. That can feel quite nice if you can get there, though it's not essential. Just make sure that the neck is relaxed wherever you are. I'm going to spend a couple more breaths here. If you're already quite low, you might want to play with just threading the arms underneath the legs and holding the feet from this angle. Slowly coming up. And once you're up, just guide those knees back in together, straightening the legs out. Breathe in, reaching the arms up. If you have a bit of tightness in your hamstrings or hips, then just soften the knees. Folding from the hips here, folding with a flat back, find your edge, take the hands down, breathe in, lifting the chest, and then breathing out to fold. Take the arms out in front, and as you come up, lifting them back up, and then taking the hands down, taking them just behind. Either do this with bent or straight knees, so you could bend the knees and take yourself into a tabletop, or you could keep the legs straight, pointing the toes and lifting yourself into inclined plane. Allow the head to just go where it's comfortable. If it's dropping back, make sure the neck is happy. Lowering down from wherever you are, and then taking the legs out to a wide position. So you've got your legs in a wide V shape. Doesn't have to be the splits. I'm going to take some folds here. So, taking the right hand and just either resting it on towards the floor, the inside of the leg. You might rest it on the top of the leg, depends on how deep you go. I'm going to reach the left arm up towards the ceiling. You might even be able to reach your foot with your right hand. And then just making sure we keep a nice open chest here. Start to bend over towards the right. Now you're either reaching out into space. If you're more mobile, it's tempting to try and grab the foot. That's fine, as long as this doesn't happen. Because you forever see people here sort of aiming down towards the floor. If you can keep the chest open and still hold the foot, then go ahead. The aim is not holding the foot, that's not the object of the posture, it's to open up the side body. Take one more breath, and then slowly coming back upright. Going to move over to the left side. Just taking the left hand down, reaching left arm up and over, only taking hold of that foot if it's there for you, and you can still get that nice side stretch. You're gazing up to the ceiling. Slowly coming back upright. Taking the hands down in front, take a breath in, lifting the chest, and start to come forwards. Again, try and keep the back flat, folding from the hips rather than from the lumbar spine. And then just come down as low as works for you. So keeping the toes flexed and upright, start to walk the hands forward. And if you can lower all the way down safely, then go ahead. start to walk the hands back in from wherever you came. Taking hands to the outside of the legs, just bending the knees, bringing them back together, bringing the knees together, wrap the arms around, and then drop the forehead down to the knees. And then from here, we're going to come down on towards our backs. So be towards the top end of the mat, just round the back, take the hands to the backs of the thighs, slowly lowering down. Finding your way all the way down on towards your back. Taking the feet about hip distance, knees up towards the ceiling. Take the hands down by the side of the body. Going to come into bridge pose, tucking the tailbone, lifting the hips, coming up. Option 2, tuck the shoulders under, interlink the fingers underneath. You've got the fingers interlinked, just release them off and lower back down. Vertebrae by vertebrae, slowly. I'm going to repeat this again. If you want to take wheel pose this time, then you can take wheel pose instead. If you're just finding your wheel, or if you've not really done it before, I shall talk you through it in stages. But if you know that that's probably not going to work for you, just take a bridge again like we did before. So either lifting up into your bridge, or if you're coming into wheel pose and you know the pose, go ahead. But just taking the hands either side of the ears with the fingers facing back towards the shoulders. So again, if you're already feeling it in the shoulders here, you might need to work on a bit of shoulder mobility before going any further with this. Pressing in towards the hands, we're going to lift the hips up, so make sure the feet are nicely planted. And then you're lifting the hips up like you did in bridge, but you're lifting yourself on towards the top of your head. So just drop the crown of the head towards the floor. Now this might be where you stop for a while, getting used to this position. Eventually, as you build strength, you might start to straighten the arms and the head comes up. Now what happens is people tend to go this way, and that's completely normal, but eventually you're aiming to bring the chest through the shoulders. Now my wheel pose isn't as good as some people's, but this is the idea. So just lowering back down when ready. When you're back on towards the floor, before you do anything else, just take the feet about the distance of the mat and just let the knees drop into each other again. Taking a moment in constructive rest position. And then heel toe the feet together and the knees together. Lift the hips and take them slightly over to the right, and then bring the knees in towards the chest. Take the hands to a T or a cactus shape, and just let the knees drop over towards the left. You might find the knees separate here, that's fine. Just check both shoulder blades are on the floor, and let the head either look up to the ceiling, or it might look over the right shoulder, where it naturally wants to go. Engage your abdominals, then bring the knees back centre. Straighten up the hips so they're central. Before lifting up the hips, take them over towards the left. Bring the knees into the chest, just letting the knees drop over to the right. Really sending the breath into that open side of the rib cage. Engage your abdominals, bringing the knees back centre, planting the feet, straightening up, and then bringing the knees back in towards the chest. Separating the knees as wide as the shoulders, flexing the feet, and then we're going to revisit our happy baby pose that we did at the beginning of the practice. And just notice if it feels any different after everything we've been doing. You might want to revisit that straightening of the legs. You might find that they straighten out a little bit more this time. You might want to gently rock from side to side here. And then once you've done with your happy baby pose, just letting go of the feet, bringing the knees back in, wrap the hands around the shins, lift the nose up to the knee, then lowering down to the floor. Time for your Shavasana. So taking the legs out, resting the arms by the side of the body, allowing the eyes to close here. I'll give you a couple of minutes in this space, so if you'd like longer, then just turn the video off now and take your Shavasana. Or you could wait until you hear the singing bowl, and that will signify the end of the practice, and we'll close it. Start to take some deeper breaths, breathing energy back into the body. Start to bring some movements back in. Might feel good to stretch. We might want to bring the knees in for a hug. And then when you feel ready, just roll around to a side, just lingering there for a moment or two. And then finding your way to a seated position. Reaching arms up, touching palms together, bringing hands down towards the centre of chest. Thank you for practicing with me. Namaste.